Hello, Search here for the Backyard Driving Range. We have today two questions that came into customer service. They're both on the same topic, so that's why I'm going to bleed these two together, and because they kind of enhance each other. All right, I'm going to start off with a question that came in from Robert Thistle. Robert says, Don, thanks for the driver length information. How about the irons? I'm a new golfer, 6 feet 4 inches tall. I never played when I was younger because the longer clubs I presumed I needed were far too expensive. Now that I'm a little older, 67, and clubs are less expensive, I've bought a set that is 2 inches longer. Should I add the 2 inches to any other clubs I add to my set as I improve? Is there a length formula based on my height? Remember that question. Is there a length formula based on my height? And then secondly, are there any of your certified swing instructors in Denver, Colorado? I can't recall off the top of my head, Robert, but I guess the answer would be go onto the site, swingsurgeon.com, look under certified professionals, or it might be under golf instruction or lessons or whatever, and you find a list up there of certified fitters and where they're at. And you can contact them through the website. Okay, now for the second question that came in. This one comes from James D. McCormack. Dear Don, your instruction regarding proper club length was very helpful. I'm a big guy, 6'4", so we got two guys 6 feet 4 inches. Okay? With a 37.5-inch sleeve. So James is going a little more into detail for me. And the reason why I'm bringing this in because he started saying he gave me that sleeve length. I've been using extra long clubs. When I attempted to swing vertically, I began hitting very thin shots. Your club length video prompted me to try shorter clubs. As a starting point, I decided to grip down on the shaft about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. All of a sudden, I'm hitting the ball straight with good trajectory and not falling back on the shot. Does this make sense to you? Please respond. It makes a lot of sense to me. All right, so here's the first thing we got to do. We got two 6'4" gentlemen here. All right, we know one of them, his sleeve length is 37.5 inches. Now, let's just say, for example, that's Robert. Let's just James, I mean. Now, let's say Robert, our first gentleman, he didn't put his sleeve length there, but let's just say we throw in Robert's got really short arms. He might only be 33 inches. Okay? Which one's going to need longer clubs? Without a doubt, Robert with the shorter arms that I just gave him would have to have shorter clubs, because at 6'4", when he gets to the ball and bends over, his arms are up here, whereas James's are really way down there. But then what's some other factors that could intervene here? Well, what if we know that we all have different body, we could have people of the same height, in this case 6'4", but they could have totally different body measurements, meaning Robert could have really short legs maybe and a lot longer torso than James, who might be just the opposite, long legs and a short torso. And again, now let's throw in the arm lengths. Okay, one could have shorter arms, longer arms, whatever. All of those things are going to impact what your club length will need to be. Okay, now again, Robert asked the question, is there a length formula based on my height? No, there is no formula based on your height. It's based on what your length of your hands are to the ground. Now, at one time, some people use the measurement. They say make a fist, and they measure from the lead knuckle to the ground. Some people use wrist. Okay? Lynn Griffin uses wrist. So whoever's using whatever form they're using, they have charts that have been worked out over time that will tell them that whatever your height, this is what you need. Another example I'll throw at you right now, and many of you probably heard me say this before. DJ, my son, is 6'3". The Surge is 5'9". I hope I'm still 5'9". Okay? But the thing is, DJ and I have the exact same arm length, 35 inches. 35 inches is a good arm length, a reasonable arm length for a 6'3" man, but it's way too long for a guy 5'9" like me. So I play clubs that on average by today's standards, are anywhere from an inch to 2 inches short, depending on whose standards you go with. All right? My clubs today, my irons today, are actually, we've had ladies at golf schools that came in here, and they've got, their clubs are 1/2 inch to 1 inch longer than mine by today's standards. All right? My standards are almost back to what they were back in the 60s and 70s. All right? That's when a driver was 43 inches long, and Jack Nicklaus had, I believe, is 5'10". He played a 42.5 inch driver when the standard was 43. I'm hearing news now from some of our fitters that a number of guys on the PGA Tour and guys that are about 6 feet are going backwards to 43 inch drivers. Why? Because I guarantee you they're hitting them more solid and more straight. But getting back down to this thing, I don't believe we could actually say, I think I could say without a doubt, and I think the fitters will back me up, there is no formula based for length of clubs based on your height. It's based on the measurement of either the knuckle of your hand or the wrist of your hand, or whatever one a good fitter that knows what he's doing is and has his charts to match what he measures you. That's the fitting. And that's where now when you come in, you put your hands down, that determines that the length that you need. So coming back again to James, he said he was hitting a lot of thin shots, and he started choking up and he hit it better. Why? Because he had super long arms. I'm going to have to predict one thing here. He didn't need that 2.5 inches. So if he got into a good posture and he maintained his angles, all right, that's like if this is what my posture returns the club right here with that grip, okay? Now I'm going to come here and I'm going to choke it up raise it up about 2 inches. I get into my posture and try to hit the ball. I'm going to very likely start hitting the ground before the ball, because if I'm making a good swing and my arms are starting to straighten out and my club is too long, and the brain senses you're going to smash the club into the ground and chunk it, what does it tell you to do? Pull up to make room. I've felt for years, many women that I see play golf, especially on the LPGA Tour, and top women amateurs. It's always been a concept in golf that if you get a woman that's very physical, very athletic, relatively good strength, and she can really stand up there and swing at it, doesn't powder puff it, doesn't cream puff it, stands there and hits the ball, what do they do right off the bat? They put them in men's clubs. They put them in clubs that were, in many cases, too long and too heavy for them. And what do you see in a lot of women? And you still see this on some guys on the PGA Tour and top amateurs. You see that they do what? They come off their heel. The heels come off the ground at impact. Why? Because the clubs are too long, and they want to straighten their arms out coming through the ball, because they know that that's where the power is to straighten out. It's pretty hard to hit good consistent shots when your arms are breaking down, creating more angles, which aren't good. So they're striving to get their arms to straighten out, and so in the end, the brain figures out that, hey, if I don't want to choke up on this club, what's the only thing left? I have to get taller. And that's why I think we see a lot of players. I see most cases, if you're doing that, either A1, you're standing too close to the ball, and you have to make room for your arms to get through, and/or your clubs are too long. And I think there's no doubt Robert figured that one out when he started choking up on the ball. So the key is for Robert not to keep fooling around anymore. Get to a good fitter and get measured and get to find out the right length. All right. And remember, one of the biggest things in the golf business now, there are no standards. All the companies, many of the companies, they all have different standards of what their length is on their clubs, especially their drivers, okay, and their woods. So, and in many cases, today's standards, if you're over 60 years old and you're not at least 6 feet or taller, I guarantee you, I'll bet you anything you want, you don't need anything more than a 44-inch driver, if that long. All right, and yet that's about all you can buy in the market today is basically 45 inches and higher. Back to our first gentleman, Robert. He bought the 2-inch longer clubs. Should he add any to any other clubs? Well, if 2 inches is the height, if he buys any new clubs to keep those clubs into the standard of what his of the rest of his clubs to be able to make the same setup and same swing, yes, he would have to add that. Again, I'll say to him, like I say to all of you, go get fitted by a good fitter. All our certified fitters are all on the same page. They all believe in the same theories. They all build clubs the same way. They do the tests. They build everything out the same way. And they do it like brain surgery. Everything, there's nothing overlooked. A fitting with most of our fitters takes at least 2.5 hours or more. And they build the clubs. So when you go to some of these box stores and you walk in there and they have you hit a few balls and they put this driver in your hand and that driver or this iron or whatever, and they say, well, that's the iron. Okay, you want to buy a set? Yep, all right, let me write up the order. Well, my number one statement about fitting is, if the guy who fitted you does not build your clubs, you just got shafted. It's all the way. These guys build golf clubs to exact specimens, specs, and they build them and they do not compromise. And the key is, when you bought that club in the wherever you bought it, and they put the order in, you paid for the clubs then, and so the box comes in, they give you the box, they say, okay, thank you, go play, have fun. When you go see a fitter, all our fitters, you don't pay until you come. When the clubs are ready, he takes you out in the range, you hit them, and if they're perfect, fine. If they're not, whatever the issues are, he'll fix them. You do not pay until you're happy and you're going to walk out the door with your clubs that you know you can hit. That's the big difference. That's what a fitting is. And that's how you find clubs that are made specifically for you and that they're fit for you, so that you can get in a good position, good setup to make the peak performance swing and hit those consistently good shots. But that only happens when you're fitted for good clubs. And just remember, a club is a tool. The better your club, the better your tool, the better you do your job. All right? Well, that's it for the search today. So hopefully this clarifies this thing. It's not just your height. More than anything, it's your hands to the ground that determines the length of your clubs. All right? So go get checked if you got issues. And with that, I'll close on, fitting is great. It's the only way to really have good tools so that you can play better golf. That's it for the search for today, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.